Perfect. Hey everyone, my name is Benjamin Horry. I'm the co-founder of Spotlite and host of Model Talk, and today I'm joined by
Julia.
welcome.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, welcome. We're excited to have you on. Like, how long have you been modeling in Korea?
Well, let me count. Around, I would say 5-6 years.
Wow, so it's been like quite a long time.
Yes, a little.
And have you been based in Korea the entire time, or have you traveled around a bit?
Yeah, I have been based in Korea because I originally came to Korea to study. I came to do
Okay.
my master's degree. So
Oh wow, and where are you from originally?
Brazil.
Brazil.
I'm
Wow,
from Brazil.
that's like quite the flip in culture and everything, right?
Yes, and it's like literally on the other side of the planet.
Yeah. So what led you to come to Korea? Like, was it the university specifically, or?
Yeah, like originally the first time I came here, it was in 2014. So I came as an exchange student.
Mm.
And I was studying architecture at the time, and I had a lot of interest in like Asian architecture in general. So that was at the time there was this scholarship by the Brazilian government,
Oh, to come to Korea.
not only to Korea, like to a lot of countries.
Okay.
But I ended up like deciding to come to Korea at that time, and I enjoyed it. So I decided to come back after to do my master's and
Wow,
stuff. So
nice. Like, what was like the drawing point to come back? Like, was it culture, food?
it's a lot of stuff. I think after living here for a year, I kind of became used to a lot of stuff. And then when I went back, I missed it.
Mm.
So like it's very safe and everything's so convenient.
Yeah,
So convenient. So
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I gotta go back.
that kind of infrastructure doesn't exist back home.
Like it does, but not so well. Because
Okay.
Brazil is a very large country.
Mm.
So we do have some problems with, let's say, like public transportation is still very far from what we have here,
Yeah.
for example.
I mean, everywhere is far from here, you know.
Exactly. And like Brazil is such a nice country,
Mm.
but I got used to certain things here, so that's why I decided to
Okay.
come
And
back.
and how did you find yourself working in fashion? Because you were studying architecture, right?
Yes.
And then I assume you also did your master's for architecture.
No, actually, I did it in visual communication design.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I shifted to like more design and marketing.
What was the trigger point for that?
Well, I did work in architecture for a few years, and it was very stressing.
Ah.
Like, as a woman in architecture, it's a little tough for certain things. Like, if it's project based, it's usually fine. But like, if you go to construction, it's a little hard.
A little bit of a boys' club.
Yeah.
Ah.
So I was like, this is not it. So I was always more to the design part of it. So I decided to shift a bit to more like graphic design and marketing.
Ah,
So.
cool. And how did you find yourself in fashion?
So ever since I was, let's say, I think ever since I was like 14, 15, I kind of wanted to get into fashion, but my
cool.
parents were not that supportive of it. They were like, no, you got to study. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to study. But after coming to Korea and like I got an opportunity to do a job after I graduated with a friend. I think it was for an MV.
Ah, okay, cool.
So I was like, okay, this is fun. Maybe I should get into it. And then I started getting like more opportunities. And then like I even started training to be like runway model.
Ah,
and
like through
everything.
academy or something like
Yeah,
this?
I at that time, after I graduated, like I started working for a game company
Oh, okay.
and
In Korea?
in Korea.
Ah, okay.
And because of the visa, you need to get. I could get a good visa that would allow me to freely work, but I had to be in a company at the time. So like after graduation, because you change from like student visa to actual.
Like an F2 or something
Yeah,
like
I
this?
had an
Yeah,
F2,
okay.
and now I have an F5.
Okay, I have no idea what the F's are.
The F5 is basically like the green card, the
Okay.
permanent residency. But like at that time, I needed to have actual work to do that. And I was training at K Plus. So I trained with them for about like a year. But what I was doing is I was like going to work and then leaving work, running to the other side of the city to train at night. And I used to sleep like 5 hours.
Wow.
But I learned a lot. So
Yeah.
it was good. And I felt like I needed to learn it because it's not just falling into it. Like actual like runway walking it's like a science.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
need to learn how to do it. So it was pretty good.
So would you say like for somebody starting out or, just kind of coming into the industry, who doesn't know much about it, like maybe going through an academy might be like a great starting point for them to learn how to pose, learn how to walk.
Like at first I didn't think it was going to be that hard, but boy, is it hard.
Yeah.
Like posing, like, because when you're in front of the camera, you have that naturality of like moving, knowing what to do. You gotta practice.
Yeah, for sure.
And like posture, like walking, there's a lot of things you need to learn. And not only that, but more of learning how things work. So if you're starting out, it's good to, I would say, like in my experience, it's good to go and learn because it makes a lot of difference. Like the works I did before training and after, it's very
night
different.
and day, right?
Night and day.
So like, was your perception before you started doing the training and kind of learning more about it, like, oh, this is gonna be so easy, like whatever, I can just go and do it?
I thought it was gonna be easier. I gotta admit it. So I was like, no, it can't be that hard, right?
And what were like some of the most challenging things about it for you?
First, like walking, I gotta say, because I studied architecture. I sit in front of the computer for a long time, and my posture was not the best. So that was a working point.
Yeah.
And like being able to pay attention to what's going on with my body, like the muscles, like what goes where. Because if you don't pay attention to that, it kind of looks sloppy. So that was like, oh, I gotta pay attention to that. So learning that did help me a lot, I guess.
And do you have like kind of, okay, so let's go back a bit. Take me through like after the MV, what was like one of your first jobs for like a studio or paid kind of setting? Like what was that like?
It was fun. It was actually during the night because we were like, it was a lot of people and we were recording in a hotel, a few scenes, and it was pretty fun. And I was like, it's tiring, but I kind of like it. Like, I don't feel like it's different from the stress of working in a company. And I was like, oh, let's maybe try this. Like, if something comes up, I'll just do it. And then after that, I started doing mostly MVs, and then I did some commercials. And it was after that I decided, no, I gotta like train, and because I was like, I want to do runway.
Oh, really?
So I was like, I should learn how to do this because it looks easy, but it's not. So I should train myself, and so I can go like to auditions and properly do it.
And what drew you to runway specifically?
I thought
Was it like
cool.
you watched a lot of shows like growing up?
Because I'm a designer myself, so
oh
like,
wow! Okay. Yeah, I got you.
I'm not a fashion designer, but I like design. So I was like, this is cool. I want to do it.
And like, what was your first runway experience like? Like, how did you get casted? Like,
my first runway experience was actually a hanbok show.
Okay.
Which was when I was training. So this Korean hanbok designer needed models, and they asked us, like the trainees, like if we wanted to do, and we got selected. And it was my first experience, and it was nice, and like walking with hanboks is surprisingly hard.
Yeah, I could imagine. It's pretty big,
it's
right?
because not only big, but there's like this inner skirt. There is like kind of like those princess skirts that hold
like
the
like a shell, right?
Kind of shell, and they hold the things together, and you have to walk with this like high heels inside it. But there is a way to walk like kicking the hanbok, because if you don't do that and you step on it, you're gonna fall. So I was also terrified at the same time. Like, am I gonna fall today? And it was on TV. I think it was live on TV.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So it was like, oh my god,
I'm gonna be so embarrassed.
I'm gonna fall on my face. But
so like, what was that?
Went well.
What was that first moment like when like I think everybody's first show is kind of like a different experience, but like it can be a little bit nerve-wracking because with runway, all the eyes are on you, and it's like there's so much pressure for just like a very short amount of time that you're very conscious of everything. Like, were you feeling that, or?
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
I was like, I cannot fall. I was just like, keep a smile on your face and not fall. And everything was fine at the end, but at first it was terrifying because it was like trying to pay attention. Am I doing anything wrong or not?
Do you have any like anything you go through in your head? Like I know some people like when they'll do the rehearsal, they'll count their steps and then they'll use that as like their mental block. So when they actually go and do the show, they can just focus on like, you know, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus like, oh my God, who's that guy over there? Why are they looking at me like this?
For me, if I count, I think that's gonna distract me. So I try to pay attention to the horizon. Like I'm focusing,
just
like,
looking through, right?
Looking through, and like I don't know what's going on. Just keep going. Just keep going.
And like, have you had any opportunity to do like lookbooks? I saw you actually did like a magazine cover too, right?
Yes, I did too.
Oh, was that in Korea?
It was it was for magazines abroad, but it was the photographer. She is Puerto Rican, and we did like both shoots with her. So we did this shoot, and she submitted the photos, and then I did for like ended up as the covers. And I did lookbooks, and I have done 3 fashion weeks, like fashion weeks so far. So
have you ever done any work back home?
Not really.
Any interest?
I thought about doing it, and last time, like I spent, because of Corona, I couldn't go home for like 5 years. So I actually
5 years?
Yes, I couldn't go for 5 years because at first, like I had the time, but I was afraid if I went, it was a little like when Corona was starting, I was afraid of going and losing my visa for not being able to come back. So I was like, no.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I cannot do this. It's a process because you have to wait like X years to get that visa. So I was like, I cannot do this. So, and after Corona got better, I basically didn't have the time to go. So I finally went last Christmas for like a month.
Nice.
And I thought about, should I do something? And then I thought I was going to have time, but 1 month is so short.
Yeah.
To just like, I barely saw time pass. So I ended up like not doing anything and just like enjoying with my family.
I mean, that's the best, especially when you're living abroad. Like, so are you now focused like more full time as like fashion, modeling, or like are you also spending some other time like pursuing other things?
I'm also pursuing other things. Like I have done last year, I did like full-time modeling, and since I have an F5, I can do other jobs, but it was just doing like freelancing. But now I'm also working with a company. Like I have a fixed job, but we're very flexible, and we have an agreement for like my model work.
Oh, that's awesome.
So basically, like I have to go to the office, but if I have model work, I just tell them.
And you can work your schedule around it.
And I can just go. Like I actually have like certain free days separately just for modeling, and so
that's awesome because you know, like the thing with modeling is like I'm sure you found this out last year.
Yes.
You have a ton of free time.
Yes, and not only like free time, but some months, like some times of the year are more packed with stuff.
Yes, for sure.
Like there are times of the year there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, bam! Like
it's very seasonal, right?
It's very seasonal. So I was like, yeah.
And like when you were full-time modeling and like you kind of hit a low season, did you have any interest of like going to another market where the season might be higher and you can book more jobs? Or
I thought about it, but like I was looking into it, and then I suddenly got busy again. But I also thought about maybe going to Japan because it's close, and they have a powerful fashion industry there, so I thought about that too, but I ended up not doing it. But I thought about it. So
like I guess I'm a little curious now. Like it sounds like you're not like full time into modeling, but like is this somewhere you want to go in the future, or do you have like another plan?
I want to do more modeling, but I feel like Korea sometimes, like I really like Korea and I like to live here, but I believe I have to go somewhere else to have more experiences.
For sure, yeah.
Grow more, because here there's a lot of stuff, but not as much as other markets. But that also costs a lot of money, so you gotta prepare. So during that time, that year, basically the good months, I would just like save up for the bad months. So I was like, should I just get this money and like go somewhere else? and try it, or should I just like save because I gotta pay my bills in the months that nothing's happening? So that's why I kind of decided to do other jobs too, to kind of focus on like, if I want to do something, I gotta be able to pay for it and like invest in it if I want to do it. So that's kind of like what happened.
And like, what was that experience like? You know, modeling is definitely unstable when it comes to like consistent like financial income.
It is.
So like, what was that experience like having? I assume like you had some kind of stable jobs before you ventured into modeling.
I did.
So what was that experience like, transitioning into, you know, this roller coaster of highs and lows?
It was a little terrifying at the beginning because it was like, is it gonna work? Is it not? But at the time, like, I was working for a company and it was just a little toxic. Like, it was not a good environment, and I was actually getting physically sick from doing it. So I actually asked them from like, can I have some time, like unpaid time off to rest and like recover? And I wanted like 2-3 months, and they say we can only do a month. So in like after this, a lot of people had quit the company.
Oh wow!
And I was being overwhelmed by like other people's jobs. So I just quit. Like, I quit and I was like, you know, this is a sign. Let me just quit and like recover like my health and go back, exercise more, and then focus on modeling. So like, it was terrifying at the beginning and the things with low months and high months. So basically at the time I started doing like freelance translating. So it's something that they would just like send me stuff to translate and I would just send back. So it was a good like extra income. So it would like level out.
A side hustle to kind of supplement the low times, right?
Because even for modeling jobs, there are like high paying modeling jobs and like not so good jobs. And lately, like for some things, they try to lowball us a lot. So the thing about like having another source of income is that I can just like reject the stuff that I don't want to do if they're not paying well enough. So I'm like, okay, like this is too low.
It's not going to make or break me this month, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And like sometimes it's insane the amounts they offer, because if you do the calculations, like if somebody working at like a Kimmoondog is going to get paid more than this by the hour. Yeah. Like it's just crazy.
I mean, that's typically reserved for like some of the fashion stuff, like, you know, runway or editorial. Yes. Like that's why I'm a little curious why you're so like gung-ho on being in runway, because typically like even for European fashion houses, it still doesn't pay well for the amount of time that's invested, right? Because I don't think a lot of people know, like if it's a big show, sometimes you'll have casting, callback, fitting rehearsal, makeup fitting, hair fitting, actual rehearsal, show, and then you're like
10 days are gone.
Yeah. And they're like, here's $100.
Yes. If you get paid. But the thing is, what I realized, like, from what I started working and, like, after that is that if runway is kind of like an investment in a sense that you don't get paid a lot, but you do get recognized as a real model.
Oh, yeah. It definitely builds up reputation for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. And so doing fashion shows is kind of like, that's what comes out of it. But usually what pays better is definitely commercial work.
All the time.
It's like light years ahead. So commercial work does pay much better. But it's, what I realized is that doing runways does help that. Like, you get more jobs if you do that. So
do you prefer one over the other, like just in terms of like the actual experience of doing the job?
The actual experience of doing the job, like runway is very tiring, I would say, because like the whole day of like getting ready, you go there in the morning, you have to get ready and do rehearsals, and it's crazy. And depending on how many changes you have like to change running, and but like it's very tiring. But I like when I see the result of like, oh, I did that. That was cool. And like commercials, I feel they're more comfortable in general. Like even if it's long shooting hours, usually there's a lot of wait time, so you can just
so much downtime, rest. Right? Yeah.
So it's like commercial, I would say, is more comfortable.
What about just like studio shooting, like lookbook, print?
Those are very tiring too in general, because depending on how many clothes, like if it's a short shoot, it's usually fine, but sometimes it goes like the whole day. So.
Have you ever had like an extremely long shoot, like that went like way overboard?
Yeah, there was a lot of clothes, and we took, I think, 20 hours.
Oh, straight.
20
wow,
hours
how many
straight.
changes? Would have been
Oh,
like.
I don't even remember. It was. We were what, 6 models, but it was
6 models and it was 20
yes,
hours. Was it because of like you were waiting to shoot your piece, or
no? It's because there was just so many clothes, and
wow.
like because they wanted like different photos and like different people wearing the same clothes, like to choose the best. So we shot everybody, like
everybody shot everything.
Yeah, like the guy shot pretty much every. It was so, but like it came out cool. So
so you're happy in the end.
Yes, but it was a long day.
How do you pick yourself up? Like, because for me, like I find myself like really high energy for maybe the first, I don't know, 50% of the shooting.
Yes.
And then like I really start to decline really quickly. Like I know some people, like I had another model on here, Ryan, who was like, yep, snack table, that's me. Like I'm just gonna like eat and have a good time and like kind of refuel. Like
yes.
How do you keep yourself going for a 20-hour shooting?
Usually a lot of coffee.
Oh yeah.
And I also like to snack between them because otherwise after a few hours, if I don't eat anything, I just feel like I'm gonna faint. I need like to eat.
Yeah.
So, and like I have some food allergies, so I usually carry my food with me because I'm gluten intolerant and allergic to soy.
So like how restrictive is that for like diet within Korea?
Very restrictive.
Right?
Like most Korean foods, because I cannot eat soy sauce.
Yeah.
And the thing is, pretty much everything has it. And the worst part is that this allergy showed up in my 20s, like the beginning of my 20s. Like it suddenly showed up because I used to eat a lot. Like I used to love everything with like soy sauce and like tofu. And suddenly one day I ate it and my throat got closed.
Oh, so it's like anaphylactic.
Yes.
Oh, really? Wow. Do you have to carry like an EpiPen and stuff on you?
Not really. Usually because I tested, like if I eat a big amount, I do have a reaction like that. If not, it's just like an itchy throat. So I usually just have like pills with me. So if I have, something is off, I can just eat it and like each throat was like medication.
Wow.
So, but it was scary.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's like, you're like, yeah, I want to live in Asia, but I'm allergic to soy sauce.
Yeah. It showed up a year after I came back to Brazil. Like the first time I came here and then I went back to Brazil and then I got like tested and like a few months after, like I just had this reaction when I was going back home after eating in the car alone.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, like thankfully, like you know it exists now, and like you can kind of like take preventative measures because that's super scary, right?
It was out of nowhere, and the gluten too, like, because I started gaining weight without reason, super fast. Like I gained 20 kilos in like less than 6 months.
Wow.
And I was like, something's wrong. And then I found out it was gluten. And then after I cut it, I just naturally lost it.
So like, I know like a lot of models, like coming back kind of towards fashion and modeling, I know a lot of models follow very strict diet, not because of, you know, restrictions and allergy or something like that. Do you also follow like very strict dieting or?
I kind of end up having to follow a healthy diet because of my allergies, because of the things I can eat. Like I can eat like meats and like salad, let's say protein, salad, fruits, and like Greek yogurt and those things. But there were times that I did severely diet, but I felt it didn't do me well. So I shifted to exercising more to be able to eat healthily because it was tough. It was not eating. It was very hard. I was always tired. And I was like literally feeling like I was going to black out and I was like depressed. So I was like, this is not working. This is not good. And like I lost a lot of weight, but maintaining it that way was hard because if you don't work out, you just lose like a lot of muscle. And if you instead of working out to work out to gain muscle, your body is just gonna spend more energy. So I was like, no, that we gotta fix that. So I kind of shifted the focus.
I mean, that's good that like it sounds like you kind of have like that balance now.
Yes.
Because I know like for a lot of people within fashion, it's really a struggle because, the industry is very like particular about sizing. I think some countries obviously are much more critical of how lenient they'll be with your measurements or your weight or things like this. And like it can lead to like a lot of health problems, which is definitely like a real thing.
Yes.
Okay, so going forward, it sounds like you've had like kind of built up an experience over the last 5 years or so in Korea. Do you have any like interest to go other markets in Asia, like Japan, China, Southeast Asia, or Hong Kong, Taipei?
Yes, I thought a lot about it, and I kind of want to explore that. But I think like sometimes finding a good agency is what's hard. Because even in Korea, when I was studying, I was originally, when I was gonna get my F2, I could get like, I needed a work contract, so I could get like a modeling contract to get it.
Like an E6?
Yeah, not like I could get an E6 contract, but get an F2 because I had the other.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's
that's
possible,
cool.
but the problem was maintaining the minimum like salary requirement. But not only that, it was like the first company I kind of like went, that they offered me a contract. It was so shady. When I was reading like the contract, they wanted a 7-year contract,
That's
getting
crazy.
50% of my money, and I was like, oh hell no. So that's why I decided to go like working in a company, getting my visa, and then
doing it freelance.
Doing it, and then getting around it, and then it's the longer path, but I have control of my life, my money, and what's going on with it. So
like I think a lot of like especially young people, like I want to talk about this a little bit more because like I think a lot of people are really hungry to just get in the industry and they're willing to kind of sign away whatever just because they think like, like I'm gonna get on this rocket and I'm gonna be Kendall Jenner tomorrow. And that's very like
that's dangerous.
Yeah, this is not the case. And like I think it's good to like kind of talk about like exposing these people that are really just trying to take advantage of you.
There are
And
a
like
lot of them.
Yeah. Like I think every market has like pros and cons, but from my network that I've talked to or people that I talked to before, like these are models that have been modeling for years and years. They live all over, they're still traveling, or they're based here, not based here, or will never come here. Is like, I think it's quite unfortunate because Korea kind of gets a bad rap for this kind of business operation where it's like contracts are really egregious, where commissions are just irrational, right? Like
it's irrational because the worst part is that they do not even do anything to like
promote you, sell
like,
you.
They do not take you. Let's say you don't have a manager to take you to shoots in the middle of nowhere. They're not gonna run and try to get you jobs most of the times. You kind of have to do it yourself, and they just sit and
collect the paycheck. Yeah. So like, how do you find like you connect with clients now? Is it mainly through social channels or?
Yes, a lot of things I get through Instagram, and like after years of working, you kind of build like a network with like decent agents, for example, and they come and like offer you jobs, and even like clients or like friends in the industry. So a lot of people just mostly contact me to like for jobs. I was like, okay, fine. And like certain jobs I do see a posting or something, I was like, oh, this is fine, and just send my comp card and info. And also going to commercial agencies, because usually you go do your profile, shoot a video, and if they have something for you, they contact you. So that works a lot too.
And like through social requests, do you find like it's really hard to kind of filter out like the BS versus like who's actually interested in booking you?
There is, I can say there's kind of like a tone, like the way they write it, you can kind of feel if it's not it or if it's genuine. So you can see, like, depending on the information they send you, the way they talk, you can see if like after some time you get some experience, you can see what is shady and what is not. So I haven't had any problems with that because I managed to identify like strange things before, like this is not it. So
yeah, like I'm a little curious. Like, have you ever had like some? Because I know like what's common, especially in Korea, and maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong. Like if your experience is different, but a lot of times like models will take jobs without actually signing a contract for that job.
Happens a lot.
Like
most of it is like
which
that.
is really crazy because I think as models, like your image is everything, right? Yes. Like you really need to protect that. So just kind of giving somebody free reign over these photos without like having protected usage, like what you're actually expected to do, these kind of things can get like really out of hand very quickly.
But as far as I know, if you have like the history of messages, usually is a valid point in a sense as a contract with someone because you agreed on something. So in a sense, technically, I heard somebody talk like on other models talking about it, that kind of serves as a proof of something you did.
But like, what about usage rights? So like, have you ever discussed like where the photos are going to be used, how long, region?
I always ask like,
that's great.
How, like for how long, what is the pay for usage? If, and I always check like, are they using it for longer? Because not only for my modeling jobs, but also for voice acting. And I feel like the voice acting community is a little more put together in a sense.
Really?
Yes, because usually like voice actors are here for a long time. They just collectively refuse lowballing offers until they actually pay the proper price. So with modeling, that doesn't happen a lot because I feel
somebody's going to undercut you.
Not only undercut, but I feel like the whole system makes people on E6, for example, very desperate sometimes because there are not many jobs in certain times and there are only like really badly paid jobs and they gotta pay the bills and they end up having to take that sometimes.
So how is this different than voice acting, right? So like I'm a little curious because to me it sounds like there would be less volume for voice acting jobs.
Oh, there's a lot.
Really?
It does. A lot of people have like whole careers just on that.
Wow. And how did you get into that?
I had a friend doing voice acting and he recommended me because he's a guy and they needed a female voice, so he said go do an audition because you have a soothing voice, so it would be good, like try it out. And I tried it out and it was good.
Is it just like talking normally, or have you ever had to like kind of play a character?
A lot. Like I have done like narration for like a children's show.
Oh, really?
So you have to really act with the voice and like doing the high pitch.
Can you like give us a sample?
A sample?
I'm just really curious because like I've only been in like a voice recording studio once. And it was because like I filmed this TVC and they didn't like the French actor's accent. So like they cut all the audio and then they had us come back and like I had to do my own voice again, which was a little weird. But like I'm kind of curious what it's like playing the voice for something that you can't see or something that you can see that's not yourself.
Usually like the characters at least is usually dubbing, so they're gonna have a video and like you have to try and record at the same time and like we do adjustments and check if it's matching. And like for games too. But I mostly do commercials because you have
like
to
TVC.
TVC, yes, because you have to. I have done like I have dubbed a few commercials for LG in Brazil.
Oh, cool! Wow.
Like for Brazil, like it did in Portuguese here and put it there. So usually those you just kind of have to use your voice, but you have to do the intonations. Like you have to be right and talk about the new phone and their features.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. But for characters like games, they're actually actually a little more tiring than, let's say, animations, because if it's an action game you have to like do like scream a lot or like get shot. And one time I had to do a whole recording, like a whole hour of recording basically screaming. My voice was completely
gone. Yeah.
But like for characters like children stuff, they usually like very like hi beach and like oh my god our little friends and like things like that, like with a higher like cheerful pitch.
Yeah.
So
it's not as intense.
It's not as intense. Like games is usually harder, I think. Yeah, commercials it's just as mildly more comfortable because you have to use like normal voice. But for games, yeah. But it's fun when they come out. So
have you ever had the opportunity for like both worlds to kind of cross over?
To do like both voice acting and the acting? Actually, almost.
Oh, okay.
Almost. There was once that like I did a commercial.
Here in Korea?
Yes. And I thought there was a they actually sent me the audition for like the voice acting of the same commercial like as a narrator, but they ended up choosing someone else.
Oh wait, so they casted you to do the commercial and then also do the narration?
Yeah, but it was like completely separate companies.
That's so cool.
It was completely separate companies because usually when they do like different versions, they do like one for each country, and if they can do it here, they usually do it here for let's say Samsung, LG, things like that. They try to do it here and then just send the video to the
abroad.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's really cool. I never thought about that. Like I guess like they can kind of just localize doing all of that pre-production here and then just ship it off when it's done.
Yes.
Versus modeling everything has to be local. Like
but sometimes like Samsung, as far as I know, they do record a lot of commercials here. But they also record a lot of them in America. Yeah. Like LA, usually LA. So they do a lot there, like here. So it really depends, I guess, on what they're doing.
I mean, most of the global stuff, they typically don't shoot in Korea because I think like the scenery is not as like, what's the word? You know, like it just doesn't come across as like so global versus more like region based in Korea.
But actually a lot of like usually the phone commercials are mostly done here.
Yeah, I shot one phone here, but then it got cut, and basically what happened was they filmed almost an identical commercial in the States, and then they also filmed one here, and then they just ended up cutting the Korean one and just going with the US one. But I was like, it's okay, I still got paid the same.
There was one that I filmed for like a smartwatch, and it was so cold, but it was supposed to be summer.
Oh, really?
So we were outside. And like I was sitting on a bench from one of the scenes, and they gave me a nice Americano to hold, and it was like -10. And be happy, drink your Americano. Between shots, we had like somebody come and hold a heater. Yeah. And give us blankets, and then it got cut.
You know what's funny? That literally was exactly what happened to me too. Like it was like. I guess I can talk about it because it was like, I don't know, 2 years ago.
You don't need to name names. You can say the situation.
But like we were shooting and it was like, we were supposed to be like in a band, like outside, like playing at a festival, like a theme park. Yeah. And it was like, yeah, like, you know, like we're wearing summer clothes, like shorts, sandals, t-shirt. And like, I remember we showed up to the parking lot because they shot it at Everland, and like we just pulled up in the parking lot and everything was frozen. Like all the puddles were frozen, and I was just thinking like, what was in my clothes for the fitting again? And then I was just, oh no. And they had like so many heaters everywhere, and people would do the scene and then they'd be like, you know, like convulsing.
That happened to me once in an MV recording during winter. It was in like this 80s vibe pub, but it was so cold inside. So between shoots, it was just freezing, and we were not dressed for that. But they had a few heaters, so people were just like stay on the heater.
Well, you know, like this is the thing with fashion. Like you have to shoot a cycle before, right? So like. You can't shoot winter clothes in winter and then sell your clothes in winter.
You have to be hot in summer and cold in winter.
Yeah. But I mean, some markets are a little better attuned to like compensating you for this. Yes. Like, there's other markets I've been to in Asia where it was like, if we were shooting winter clothes in summer, there's like a rate increase because, you know, it's like really hard to do. Like shooting winter jackets in 30 degrees weather, and you got to shoot 30 or 40 of them.
And it has to look
tough.
fine, like nothing is wrong, nothing is going on.
Your makeup is just kind of like melting off your face.
Yeah, they're literally fixing your makeup every 5 seconds.
So I want to jump back to kind of like your career path through fashion now. So what are like the next steps for you going forward?
The next steps, I do want to try to go to markets around here to build like...
Within Asia?
Yes, mostly to build like a stronger portfolio. Because I feel like around here we do have like a little like stronger markets in fashion. So I want to expand a bit, and like since my base is Korea, I can just, you know, go do stuff, come back, and then try to go to bigger stuff.
I mean, it's always good that like you have a multi-entry visa too, because like when I was younger and like I was like, oh, like how can I kind of like make this process as efficient and like maximize my value for being in one market, is like you get a multi-entry visa and then you just collect kind of agencies or like network in all the surrounding markets, and then you open yourself up for a lot of direct bookings, right? So if I sign an agency or I find a visa sponsor in Singapore or Thailand, I know like there's also clients in Malaysia that can book me. So now I'll go to Malaysia and get them. And now it's like you have 4 or 5 different agencies.
Around
all
the same area.
Exactly.
And it can take like a 2-hour plane and go do something and come back.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Korea is a little bit more restrictive. Like the visas are very tough.
It is.
But once you have it, like opening up those other markets or potential markets around you can like really start to accelerate your growth.
Like the fact, like because of my visa, I have a lot of freedom because I like can choose what I do, when I do, and I don't need to be afraid to lose my visa because like I'm not getting jobs or something during a season, because some people, like because the visas are very strict, they feel like if they don't take like any job that is thrown at them because of the whole way the system is built, like they are afraid. And it's just a tough environment, I guess.
So how do you kind of pick and choose the jobs that you want to do or you don't want to do? Do you take more consideration into this is kind of how I want to start developing my book, or they're just not paying me enough?
Actually, the money is not the most important thing. Like for some jobs, I think like certain jobs, types of jobs, money is important because of like, you know, the value of the work that is being done for this job. But a lot of jobs, therefore, like it's a creative choice. Like, oh, I think this is a cool job. Like I want to do this with this person. Maybe sometimes they don't have that much of a budget, but they want to do something cool that is going to be like good for both.
Yeah.
So I think it has its value. So it's not just about the money, but sometimes of jobs it's the money, because you know like how much, like let's say there is a bad agent trying to get your, because that happens a lot, like
Definitely.
lot of agents trying to get like a super big cut.
Yeah, I mean like that's why we
so
dropped our commissions to 0%, because like I know, like going back a little bit, like I had a lot of people that were like, when I was first coming here, like, don't go to Korea, you know, like they're just going to steal your money, because, you know, money changes hands so much from the client to the model here that, like, you know, when they're telling you the price is this, you can almost just triple it or like 4x it or 5x it. And the reality is like somebody just kind of stuffed their pockets along the way.
I've seen a case where an agent got 90% of it.
That's insane, right?
Like people found out later, and I don't know what happened after, but they literally like, because there was a situation that somebody else involved with the shoot got the contract back for usage payment because they wanted to extend the usage, and like there was information about the other payment, like the types of roles going on. So somebody realized that the main model got paid like 10% of what she should have paid, and
it's crazy.
they didn't even communicate they were extending the usage to her. So
I mean, unfortunately, that happens like all too often here, and like
yes,
I think it's really like really affecting like Korean fashion market in general, because you have so much great talent from here that don't want to stay here because you know what, like
a lot of people leave.
They just know that, you know, like I'm never gonna get like a real or like fairly accurate or fair compensation of what I'm actually doing. So I'm gone. I'm never coming back. And then you have a lot of talent that's really great and would be interested in coming here.
Yes.
But then they hear these stories and they're like, no way I'm going to go there. Like, why would I? What's there for me?
Yes.
Right. And I think it's like, gosh, I really want to single people out, but I don't want to because I don't want to start like a firestorm. But there definitely are like groups or certain individuals within like the Korean fashion market that are really taking advantage of people, and like I think like it's really good to kind of talk about this stuff so like they're a little bit more deterred, because you know like at some point the tea is going to spill and people are just going to know at face value what's been going on. What are some of the things you think like can be done to kind of like prevent this, or like what are our next steps forward to kind of change this?
I think communication is important because sometimes, like with models, I feel like competition kind of happens sometimes.
For sure.
People, they try to get on top of others, like to, let's say, they don't talk about certain things because they're afraid to lose jobs. But I think communicating between like the people, like who is working with you, and then so everybody can know what's going on, like the situation. So communicating is important so we can understand what's going on and kind of like take action.
So like building community.
Building community is important. Exactly.
Yeah, no, like I definitely agree. I think like it's kind of tough though because this industry is so heavily reliant on reputation.
It is.
That, you know, like people are very, very like walking on eggshells because they don't want anybody to say anything bad, and they just always want to be like, oh yeah, they were so great, just book them, you know, which I think is, I get it because I was in that point too, like a long time ago, but like I really wish like models would kind of bend together a little bit more to be like, you know what, like this isn't right, like we need to start like changing the way this dynamic is going and, you know, pushing fashion into like a positive way. Does that give you any like concern of going to other markets? Like there definitely are other countries or markets that are not experiencing like this issue this severely, or it's not as egregious. Like does that ever scare you, like, hey, I don't want to go there because I don't know if like it's going to be like this or worse?
I'm a person that likes to try new stuff, so not necessarily afraid, but I do have my concerns sometimes. Like I wouldn't go somewhere without like doing my research first and like kind of finding out how things work and like before going there. But I do understand that like some places have like shady things. So before going, I would do my research, but I don't think I would be afraid to try, because like after all, the thing with modeling is I do modeling, but I also have somewhere to fall back if it doesn't work. So I guess it makes me less afraid. So because I do have like other things that I do, so I think that gives me some more assurance that I can try and be fine.
Do you have any plans? Like I'm always of the mindset, like not everybody is, but I'm always kind of on the mindset that, you know, modeling is finite. Like there's really kind of like an expiration date for everyone. Sometimes that's not the case.
Yeah, lately that's been kind of changing a bit
But I think in general, I think you either kind of shift into a different role within fashion, or you have built up enough reputation and clout that you can kind of become a content creator within the industry. But just solely modeling, I think it does kind of tail off at some point for guys and girls. It's different ages, or there's a lot of different factors. but like, are you planning to do this forever, or like, do you have something that you want to get out of modeling that you can take to somewhere else?
I think diversifying is important because you do not put all your eggs in a basket, because if something goes wrong, you don't have anything to do.
Yeah.
And I've been doing, like I said, voice acting for a few years, so I kind of want to get into acting too. I have interest in getting into acting, so, but I do enjoy fashion, so as long as I can do it, like I want to do it.
Yeah, like I had another model on yesterday, and she is now kind of going through that same process where she's like, yeah, like I want to transition into acting because like I feel it's more creative and like it's a new interesting challenge for me. And I think it's a pretty common transition for models.
And it's a career that has longer, like,
more longevity.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah. Have you had any experience like doing acting?
For acting, I did like very little things because most of, like, I'm Brazilian, and most of the time they're looking for like native English speaking countries.
Yeah, but your English is like...
Yes, but they usually do not consider that before calling you for an audition.
They just see your nationality and
exactly,
they're like, no.
They're like, no. So I'm trying to get into that. So the good thing is that I've been practicing because of voice acting. So that kind of helps me like keep practicing. But it's mostly for like small acting gigs and like being an extra and like acting on commercials, but it's not the same. But I've been trying to get into that.
And like, do you think like you'd like to pursue that within Korea or go back to Brazil or somewhere else?
I think Korea is a good place to start, but that lately there's been like more roles for foreigners.
Oh, really?
In Korean productions than
like
before.
Main roles or sub main roles?
There were actually a few main roles, but mostly like actually speaking roles. So there's been like little more than in the past. So I think starting here is good to like build a base, build a portfolio, and then try to go to bigger markets. Like I have done acting auditions for abroad. Like they didn't work out, but I did learn something with it, and like, oh, the process and like what to do, what not to do. So it was a good experience, but I think doing small things before to kind of build something on like an acting reel would be a good thing before going.
Yeah, it's just interesting because like I guess I don't pay enough attention to like Korean K-dramas or TV shows or Korean like film production. So like from my perspective, it's always been like very, very dominated by only Korean.
Yes.
Where, you know, like maybe some Western productions are a little bit more diverse, like with their character cast for main roles. So it's just kind of interesting. Why do you think that like the dynamic is kind of shifting now to be more accepting of having foreigners in main roles?
It's because I think they noticed that like the amount of foreigners that came to Korea in the like the last few years is very big. So I think they're in like Korean content being exported abroad, like a lot of consumption of Korean content abroad, and I think they decided to incorporate that more in their productions, maybe to kind of so people can relate better. Maybe it might be something like that.
Interesting. Like, would you ever have any interest of going to like a major film market like LA or something like that?
Yes. But the US is hard. Visas are more complicated than Korea.
It is definitely not easy.
Yes.
But like, I think like now you kind of have 3 avenues or even 4 or 5, right? That you can kind of get your foot in the door. So it can either be through voice acting or through a modeling agency or through an acting agency or through something else that you're doing outside of fashion and entertainment. So like, why not just like go for it?
Take the plane and go.
Yeah.
I think I need to prepare a little more. Because one of the things that I like to do before I dive into something is that I'm going to do risk assessment. Basically, like, what do I need to do? Why do I need to prepare? Like, am I ready to do it? So I kind of do this analysis. I guess it comes from like my architect self a bit, but don't think I'm ready yet. I think I need to work on some things before I try to do something crazy and like go there and try it, because if I'm not ready, I think there's a bigger chance of failure. Like, not necessarily because you didn't do good, or if you don't prepare, you're not, let's say, if you go there and you don't have enough money, or you didn't prepare for the visa, didn't check things, you might just end up failing because of something minimal that you could have prevented, like something that is going to get in your way, or any bureaucracy. So I think preparing a little is important than just diving in. Like,
so then what would happen, like, if you got like a more traditional modeling agency contract, where it was like, hey, like, we want you to come and work for 3 months, you know, typically they'll cover, I mean, it really depends on the country and the agency, but like typically they'll cover airfare, accommodation, transportation, you know, like some basic living expenses. Would you go? Would you take the opportunity or no?
Yes, probably.
You wouldn't need to like create a report and like assess like if it's a good market for you.
If I'm gonna go on my own, I need to prepare, because you know, I'm kind of like the one funding this, so I need to be ready and like to work on what I'm doing. You know, like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And for example, like was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago, I did an audition for like a film that was supposed to be in LA. It was gonna be for like, if I passed, it was gonna be for 6 months. I was ready to, you know, just drop it and go if I got accepted, because it was something big.
That's a big opportunity for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the kind of, like, it's a kind of opportunity that if you get it, you just don't drop it. You just YOLO. But if I'm going to go on my own, I feel like I need to prepare certain things that I can, like, be responsible for myself while doing that.
Okay, so I have another question that's on like the same plane. So typically in Europe, they will not prepay a lot of these expenses. Like, it really depends on your contract, agency, like market conditions, all these things. Yes. But in general, they don't front a lot of these costs. They'll front some, maybe all if you're really lucky, or sometimes they won't front any. Yes. But if you want to pursue like runway at like a higher level, this is where you need to go. Exactly. But it's very risky because, you know, you're going to the most competitive market. Everything is like, who knows? It's a flip of the coin, right?
Yeah, and model auditions, you can see like hundreds and hundreds of people outside.
So would you ever be curious to go to like a European fashion market and try? Or
actually, I have been curious about it, and I was thinking about like preparing to go and like try, but I haven't done it yet. But it's because I'm preparing other things, because like I'm Italian descendant, like,
oh really,
like my family. So I kind of been working first on my Italian citizenship, because that would make things much easier. So, but it's so many documents, and I need to get them from like Brazil and stuff here.
So have you ever been to Italy or?
Not yet.
Wow, that's so cool. But you know, like if you find an agency there, they can bring you in like immediately.
I know.
But you just prefer to go through with...
Yeah, I did talk with an agency in Italy before, but I didn't really like the terms of it, so I ended up like not pursuing it. But I feel like the fact that I can do it like without needing a visa would facilitate it for me.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I'm like working on that, because honestly I've been slacking off for a few years to do that, and I finally decided to do it. So.
Wow, that would be really cool. I mean, European like fashion market is a whole different animal compared to Asia.
Yes.
Like,
I wanted to.
I can't remember who I was talking about this to, but like the first time I was ever there, it's like I had no idea like what show castings were like real show castings, and like you show up and there's like a line that just goes forever.
Yes, I've seen videos of it, and I was shocked. Like, it's so many people.
Yeah.
And these are like only like a few models, so.
Yeah, well, you know, there's only like I don't know, maybe 50 looks at the most. And you're like, yeah, there's probably like 1,000 people here. So
Oh yeah, like yay.
have you ever felt like you were in a place where like you were really kind of competing against the people that you're close with, like, you know, friends or stuff? It's very common that you get casted for the same kind of jobs.
Yes. Like I myself, I don't like to like perpetuate this type of competition. I like to be like a healthy, supportive person. So if I don't get a job, I usually don't feel so bad.
Like heartbroken about it?
Heartbroken about it. I don't take it like personally. It's
That's
like
great.
fine. I didn't match like the concept they wanted, and that's fine. But like some people, because I have been in situations where other people were competitive or like trying, but it was
you just feel the tension, right?
You just feel the tension, but it was mostly at the beginning. Luckily, like along the way, I even made like a lot of model friends that everybody's just like great to be around, like good. How can I say?
Like everybody's just kind of willing to help each other out,
yes,
right? Yeah.
It's just like good to be around, because at the end of the day, we're kind of like a lot of the times we're gonna be like co-workers.
Yeah.
So it's just good to be around and like talk about things, because it makes the whole thing better. So
yeah, I think like the modeling community is very small. Like even on the global scale, it's like a quite tight knit community where you know, like if you spend some time in a market or spend some time in multiple markets, you can almost go anywhere and you're like, oh, I know that person. Or you meet somebody and they're like, oh, do you know so-and-so? Yeah, it's like my best friend. Oh, like, and then it's just like connection, right?
Yeah.
It's like it really, I think, like opens you up to be able to network on a much wider scope versus like just where you're based. Yeah, that's really interesting. So I guess my question now is, if in the future you seem like now you're kind of more comfortable being in the entertainment space in general, like do you have any desire to go back to like pre-fashion industry or pre-entertainment space, like go back to architecture or?
Not really.
Oh, really?
Like it was good. Like I do really like architecture. I do enjoy it. But working with it was not a good experience for me. It was very stressful, and I just think it was not that good overall. So I don't think I would go back.
Is there anything like you'd like to explore more in this industry, like outside of, you know, film, still photography and voice acting? Like there's still so much you can do within fashion and entertainment. Like, are there any creative roles that like you'd like to kind of pursue, like as you had experience with design?
Yes, like something, if I would go like another route, another role, it was probably gonna be in creative directing, something to do with like, or maybe scenery and things like that.
I was just gonna say, like,
because I have an architecture background.
I was like,
so
I was waiting for her to go, yeah, set design. And I was like yeah.
Set design would be fun too.
Yeah.
It's something, because like building spaces is something I enjoy. So that would be good too.
Yeah, like I think like I you have like a very interesting kind of background that's not so like atypical.
Oh yeah, it's more like it's the ADHD, you know. You just go and do a lot of stuff.
No, like there's nothing wrong with that. Like I think like diversifying is like one of the safest things you can do, and really opens you up to more opportunity, especially within fashion, because you know it's very, very interconnected. I'm just drawing a blank. Sorry, I had a question like right at the top of my head, and then like I'll go on these tangents, and I'll be like, oh my god, what was I?
I do the same thing. Like I change the subject. Like
yeah, I'm very like maybe it's my ADHD too.
Maybe.
So, what's still driving you to stay here? Because like I guess I'm a little fixated on that right now. Like I'm just kind of curious, like if you feel like it feels like we share kind of this same mentality that, you know, fashion space within Korea is it's good, but it's not growing in a positive way right now. Like, what is really driving you to stay here and like kind of expand on these three like ventures that you're going into within entertainment versus going somewhere else?
It's because I think that before trying something like outside of it, I think that to be competitive, I still need to work a bit on myself. You know, so to be able to go into these markets and do it properly, I think I still have to work a bit and like build up my portfolio and my experience a little more, so I can confidently go and try there.
But you think like there's more opportunity here versus going back to Brazil or somewhere else in?
The thing with Brazil is that like I'm from Brasilia, the capital, but most fashion happens in São Paulo and Rio. But I've been here so long that I don't have any network there. Like I have family and friends, but I would have like to build from zero because I do not have like connections in the industry, especially in like other cities. I would like I have a few friends that live there, but they're not necessarily in fashion. So it would be going back to start something from scratch. And I think from Korea, I do have a better connection to certain places abroad than I do in Brazil, I would say.
Yeah, so like I guess that's kind of my question is like if we're kind of in agreement that like Korean fashion market in general, like I'm not bashing on it by any means, but I think like there's a lot of room for improvement going forward. And like the next few years, I don't know how long that's going to be, are kind of going to still be the same or stagnant or like slow improvement. You think there's more value in staying here for that time versus going somewhere else that's maybe providing more long-term opportunity and building up from zero again?
But like if it's somewhere else that is not Brazil, for example, as a foreigner, if I have to go somewhere else and build from zero, I still have to prepare for that because of like visas and situation. Even with an agency, like dropping like in a parachute, I think it's gonna be hard because I need to have just like at least some level of planning to go and start doing something. So that's why I think I need to still work on myself a bit and like improve my portfolio and like my experience, so then I can go, oh, okay, it's time to go and try this because this is good to go and do that, you know.
Do you do a lot of like creative stuff like TFP?
I do a bit of it, like for example the Puerto Rican photographer, we did like TFP shoots and they were stunning. Like it was she's really good.
Like do you have any interest to do that now, like still to kind of like build up your book or like maybe implement some of like your own creative thoughts with a photographer who's a little bit more open to exploring that with you?
I think it's valid. I think it's a good experience for like both a photographer trying to grow and like a model trying to expand portfolio, because it's not like you have more creative freedom to do something like or a concept you want to do, but you don't necessarily have the chance to do it in a job because it doesn't come out often. So I think it's a good thing. So I do it every now and
then. And how are like you kind of starting these conversations with people? Because I think this is really good for people to hear that are kind of like dipping their toes into fashion and may not know like how do I contact them, like how do I schedule this shooting, like how do I kind of talk with them to bring my ideas to life without like completely saying like I don't want to listen to you, like we just want to shoot this.
I think you have to like try to network as much as possible, like go talk to people, meet people. And if you're not getting jobs yet, let's say go to Instagram and look for photographers. Some of them even have in their bio like that they do like exchange shoots
like TFP
this.
stuff.
TFP. So go and try to contact them like, hey, I'm a model, I want to do a shoot. Like I would like somebody you like the work of. So just literally just DM people and like go and talk to them. And sometimes like while doing work, or let's say going to Fashion Week, if you're not doing runway, when you go there, there's so many photographers. And like you end up meeting people there, like, and they take your photos, they send it to you, so you get their contact information. And if you like their photos, you're just like, hey, you want to do like a shoot? like if you talk to people like that, you can get like a lot of chances to do those kinds of shoots.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. I never thought about that. Is there any like creative artists or brands or yeah, I guess that's really it. Like a specific photographer or brand or publication that you haven't worked with in Korea, but it's on like your dream list.
My dream list.
Like, for me, example, like, do you know Rick Owens?
Oh yes.
Like, my dream has always been to do a Rick show, but I know my profile doesn't suit it at all. Like, I'll never do it. But like, is there someone like that in Korea that maybe by some circumstance will see this and maybe we can help bridge the gap and connect you?
Oh my God, I wasn't expecting this question. And like my mind just went blank.
Well, like, are there any brands that like you, like Korean designers that like you really like to wear, or like you love their clothes?
Oh, there's a lot of nice stuff, but it just went blank.
Oh, okay.
Like, there's a lot of like nice designers, like really good Korean designers, but I just forgot.
That's okay. I got another question, and then like I think we can slowly wrap up.
Okay.
Do you follow any trends in Korea? Because I know, like, especially with fashion here, it's very trendy and on trend and off trend and then back on trend very quickly.
I gotta say something about this. Sometimes that kind of irritates me for one thing. Sometimes, I don't know if you do that, but sometimes I want a specific, like, item of clothing that I think that and I want to get that. Like, I know it exists already, but I cannot find it. And like, because it's not on trend. The most shocking one that happened to me is that I needed new skinny black jeans for castings and I could not find it. I went to Levi's and Levi's did not have black skinny jeans. I was like, you guys only make jeans.
Yeah.
How? Because it was like baggy pants was the trend. So it was so hard to find. I ended up buying it from abroad.
Oh, really?
Because sometimes if you want to look for something that is not necessarily like trending, you're going to have a hard time finding it. Because most like regular shops, I'm not saying like fashion designers, but like mostly like regular shops, they're not going to have it. They're all going to have like
the same stuff.
The same stuff. So that was a bit shocking in the beginning because like in Brazil, you don't have that. Like you do have like a certain style that people mostly wear, but you can go to different types of shops and like find different stuff. So it was a little shocking in the beginning. So like following trends, there are things that I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like it's nice. But sometimes when I want something different, it's just very hard to find.
Yeah. And like, so how does that affect like your personal style? Because I know like for models, and I think we all kind of buy into the mentality of like clothing is really important in your day-to-day life, right? Like it's how you express yourself. It's how you first communicate with somebody before you even say something, right?
Yes.
So like how do you find like you develop your own style while, you know, like trying to navigate the weather storm of Korean trends that are hot or not?
I'm honestly a clothes hoarder and shoes too because I'm tall and finding shoes for women in Korea if you're past like a certain size,
impossible.
It's impossible. So I have so many shoes. I probably have 20 like black high heels.
Oh wow.
They're very similar, but like I just have different runway because I'm just like, this is not that comfortable, so I should get another one. So I just have a bunch of them, but I don't get rid of them because I might need it and I cannot buy it. Or like usually I have to buy some stuff from like abroad and get it delivered. And like for clothes, I just have so many clothes and I just like keep them. So like if I want something that let's say was trendy blah 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 time ago, I just go to the box that is kept with things and I get it.
I got you.
But I just I hoard like I'm a hoarder of clothes.
Have you ever had an issue with, because I know like Asian sizing in general is very like it's always like a couple sizes down, and like for me especially because like I have long arms or like longer than like what would be considered like normal for the size. Like, do you ever have you ever had issues with like, you know, like a client booked you and then you got there and it's like all the sizing is super weird?
Mostly when doing jobs with clients, it was okay. But like normally buying clothes, like sometimes the pants are short, the sleeves are short, and I was shocked that I bought a jacket, like a leather jacket, and it was XXL and it was too short.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this XXL for kids?
Yeah.
Because the math isn't mathing.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of like different things. And like once I bought a dress online that was too short. And I was like, they should have put that it was for somebody that was like tops 150. Because I'm 173. So there's a lot of like clothes that are very short. They make everything small or with like they're made for like shorter people. They don't have like different options. Some brands do, which is good. So when I find them, I'm like a loyal customer, so I just go there and buy it. And lately I saw that some brands are actually focusing on making stuff for tall people too.
Oh, really?
I saw like there was a jeans brand that they make jeans for people that were like 170 and up.
Then did you send them a DM and like, hey, book me, and then give me some jeans?
Yes, because like now it's changing, but before it used to be harder.
Yeah. Like, do you find yourself like actively marketing yourself like proactively to clients, like prospective clients? Like maybe you find a brand that like really kind of suits your style, or you really just love the clothes and you're reaching out to them to be like, hey, look, like this is what I do, like I'm available, like I would love to work with you? Or are you kind of waiting for these requests to come in?
I sometimes do that, but I don't do that all the time because some brands are receptive to it, some are not. But I do that sometimes, but not like all the time. But sometimes it comes and sometimes I go. And sometimes even it's like a recommendation from someone that I know. They're like, oh, here, like this model would be good for your brand. So yeah.
So how do you find yourself mainly marketing like your image out to potential customers or potential clients?
Mostly like I do look at like sites with modeling jobs too, and I skim through it to find like things that I think suit me, and then I send the info. And I always update my profiles with the companies, like commercial companies and other companies, and like always updating like my comp card. And when I update it, I send it to the agents, the clients, and like, here, this is my new photos, my new info, and just get one day and send it all. And like eventually, if I see some brand that I like get into contact with them and like things like that. So.
Well, I know like even from our perspective, like we appreciate people like updating their profiles, like even snapshots or other things, because you can definitely run into issues where like, you know, somebody may make a hair change or like some other physical change that you don't know about, the client doesn't know about, but you're going to find out on the shooting date.
You need to take new photos.
Yeah. No, I really agree. Like it's interesting though to kind of hear like somebody that's actually proactive about doing that, because I think most models in general aren't so proactive or maybe as organized as you are.
Maybe it's my designer self like updating my own comp cards and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, new photo, edit, blah blah blah, because I added my own stuff. So like,
you do the post-production yourself?
Sometimes, yes.
Oh, really?
If like if there's something, because sometimes, let's say sometimes I pay for shoots myself. Like if I want to update my profile and I want to do a concept and like I like this photographer, so I'm gonna pay him and do it. And like if I want to edit some stuff and like fix some stuff, I would do it too.
Okay, I wanna finish on this last kind of subject because it's interesting. Because I recently had somebody that was kind of like reaching out to me to, I wouldn't say guide them, but like provide them some advice on like how to get started and like which avenues to go through. And one of the things like I kind of explained is like in the beginning, you know, like there may be circumstances where you have to pay for shooting because you have no materials and like you can't just get them. Like if you're lucky and you find good creative artists and a good team, you can get it done for free sometimes, but sometimes you can't. So like take me through on like the final note to like kind of take me through that process of how you find the photographer you want to look for to shoot this concept. Is it, I have my concept first and now I'm just looking for somebody's images that match that? Or
Kinda
is
like
it
that? Like sometimes, like I do follow like on social, like on Instagram, for example, I do follow like a lot of photographers. And for example, if I like their work and I'm thinking about a concept that I think is gonna match it, because I look up like, oh, this their style is nice, it's gonna look nice. So then I contact them, because when you find like TFP photographers, like sometimes you can find like really heavyweight people that will do TFP sometimes because they want to work with you. So, but usually when you have a bigger portfolio. So, but at the beginning, it's hard to find like really good quality photos if you don't pay for them.
Yeah.
So, what I would recommend if like for someone wanting to start is that like as a creative too, is that if you want a good job well done, you gotta pay for it. Like there is a price for that. So if you really want to get good photos, like prepare yourself, because it's also like part of your preparation. So if you can do like makeup and hair well, like do that, but if not, get that done too, because this is literally your business card.
Yeah.
This, like your comp card is literally your business card. It is what clients see. So if you have good quality photos, it increases your chances of being booked. So I think it's important to like, or if, for example, if you cannot really think about a concept yourself because you're not in the creative business, because that happens, it's okay. You like talk to a friend or somebody you know that it's kind of into that to help you with that. Like ask for help, like talk to people. That I think that's important.
I think that's like literally all the advice. Like I was looking that like some of the people that are also in that same situation as this individual like need to hear. And now like I don't have to explain it every single time. I can be like, just go watch the podcast, like go to this segment, and she lays it out like exactly. So I guess like the last question I have is, when you're kind of building that concept with the photographer and, you know, like maybe you're bouncing ideas or you have something really solid, like, do you find in general they're pretty receptive to you kind of like directing the creative aspect?
That's why you pay them, because usually when you're the one paying, like they're more receptive. Like I haven't had problems with photographers. I gotta say, I didn't meet any like diva photographers. Everybody I met was like super nice and cool. But when like this is a concept you're having, so you're paying someone for a service. So I guess that kind of helps out with that, because you have a concept, like I have this work, like I want to do it like this. Are you up for it? Like you discuss it beforehand. If it's good, then you go for it. But the fact that you're a client, in that sense, it makes you a client. So I think that kind of helps with that.
And have you ever had an experience where like maybe you weren't satisfied with the end result, and like how did you resolve that? Because like it's you can't be happy with every single photo, you know. It's just not the truth.
But usually what I do in these cases is we do take a lot of them and then we choose the good ones. But like I have had jobs that I was not really satisfied. Like I'm not gonna name names, but there was a runway show that we did that was like outside of Seoul. It was for a brand, but they had like, it was far away and we had to all go by bus. But like the makeup artists, I don't think they knew how to do makeup for like foreign faces. So there were like, we were like 5 foreign models, and we ended up looking like the rich people in the Hunger Games. It was really awful. Like, and I had this huge fake lashes that was so heavy, and I just wanted to wash my face and walk by like barefaced. I was like,
yeah, no, I think like there's definitely, I mean, I think it's more common in Asia, but there are definitely like some culture standards maybe that like you need to, they try to make you look a certain way even though there's no real way you're ever gonna look like that.
And it was just probably the most violent makeup that I got to, because they were patting my face so hard. I was like, why? But
have you ever had the double hairspray? Like,
no, my hair was a helmet.
Like
my hair was helmet.
Yeah.
It was like it was so hard to remove everything because it was also like Hunger Games hair. So it was like, yeah, I look awful, but let's do it. Think about the money. This one is for the money.
Yeah, I unfortunately I know, like, wow, I say this again all the time, but my memory cards only allow me so much capacity, and I know we're getting really close and the cameras are about to hit like full storage. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on and giving us your time. Yeah, I'll link you'll be able to find all of her links, social, booking, everything in the description. Do you have any final notes?
It was very fun. Like, it was a nice experience, like, to talk about this. And I think it's good to let the people, like, starting out know about certain things that people don't talk about or they gatekeep it. So
Yeah. Like, I mean,
good.
that's a big thing, right? Like, it's, I think, like, we're really, like, the models or people that, I mean, we're always last to get paid. That's the truth. And I think, like, we need to build more community and really get together and, like, talk about issues or, like, explore new ways that, like, we can kind of create a better environment for all of us. And, like, I really appreciate you being willing to come on and kind of, like, share your thoughts and ideas about these things, because, you know, sometimes people just don't want to talk about it.
Oh, yes, a lot.
Yeah.
Like, in the beginning, I wanted to know things and people didn't want to talk about them. So
yeah, so
I really appreciate, like, I think it's a good thing because I had this problem before, so it's good to talk about.
Is there anything, like, that you think we didn't touch on that maybe we can just wrap up, like, quickly, that, like, maybe was something, like, you were really, like...
I guess it's mostly how to get to things, like, to really reach to clients, like, to not be afraid to reach to people. I think that's something. Because most of the time, people are not going to tell you, like, nobody's going to give you a list of who to talk to, what to do. So just reach out and, like, network, talk to people, and, like, build relationships and, like, friendships with people. I think that's very important. Because our business it's mostly mouth to mouth. So
yeah. It's really, like, network and connection based. Yeah. So I think, like, you nailed it. Like, you just have to be confident and comfortable to be able to, like, approach somebody, even though you feel like, oh, am I being weird or am I being cringy?
Be the weird one.
Yeah. There you go. You have it. Yeah, I'm Benjamin.
I'm Julia.
Thank you so much. This is Model Talk. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.